back on January 6, 2021, we had democracy at its ugliest, lowest point.
When the insurrection ended, the wheels of justice began to turn. It will be an expensive ride.
They're charging people with everything they can under the United States Code.
A WUSA 9 data analysis revealing federal prosecutors have brought more than 50 criminal charges against more than 200 different defendants. Many of the suspects now asking the government they are accused of trying to overthrow for a taxpayer-funded defense attorney, also known as a public defender or court-appointed attorney. The right to a lawyer guaranteed to every criminal defendant in the United States under the Sixth Amendment to the Constitution.
The laws that defend these accused rioters were passed in the same house that they're accused of attacking.
Exactly. That if you punch irony into Wikipedia, it should show a picture of all this going on.
So who are you paying to defend? We dug into the court records. The list includes that guy walking through the rotunda with a Confederate flag, the man photographed wearing a Camp Auschwitz sweatshirt, that zip tie guy, the woman who allegedly stole Nancy Pelosi's laptop to sell it to the Russians, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, even a guy accused of hitting police officers with a baseball bat. Bernie Grimm, who worked as a federal public defender for years, told me based on his experience, once you add in the price of all those taxpayer-funded defense attorneys to everything else the public has to pay for, the prosecutors, the investigators, the jurors, the judges, the total price tag for all these trials put together will be eye-popping.
We're talking millions of dollars. So,
And it's all going to be taxpayer money.
It's all going to be taxpayer money. And the irony of this whole thing is the document that protesters armed themselves with to say, this document says I can come up here, come in the Senate building, but that same document is going to protect those people. Give them a right to a trial, a right to a free lawyer, a right to cross-examine, call witnesses. I've never seen anything like it.
The Sixth Amendment guaranteeing the right to an attorney was ratified way back in 1791, but it wasn't until a landmark Supreme Court case in 1963 that the court ruled in criminal cases the government is required to provide an attorney to defendants who are unable to afford one. In fact, the Administrative Office of the Court says it's not uncommon for a defendant in federal court to get a court-appointed attorney because the cost of representation in a federal court case is high, and the language determining eligibility for a taxpayer-funded defense is vague, stating only a judge should grant a request for a public defender if the person's net financial resources and income are insufficient to obtain qualified counsel.
Justice can be expensive.
Glenn Ivey is a former federal prosecutor and the former state's attorney in Prince George's County.
Yeah, I know a lot of times the public has mixed feelings about using tax dollars to pay for public defenders or other court-appointed attorneys because they don't want to have, defendants get representation on their dime. But, that's the cost of having a fair justice system in the United States.
So, of course, we wanted to know the total cost of all these public defenders for taxpayers. But here's the thing. The Administrative Office of the Courts, which funds the courts, told us that exact dollar figure won't be known until years down the road. Why? Well, policy prohibits the release of financial information during a case because it can give away court strategies.
And there's more. Already, the courts have caught some Capitol riot suspects allegedly trying to get taxpayer-funded attorneys they didn't deserve. Cleveland Meredith, a car wash owner in Atlanta who court documents say had an assault rifle and threatened to put a bullet in Nancy Pelosi's head on live TV, and Andrew Wrigley, an award-winning artist from Pennsylvania, according to his website, accused of taking selfies in the middle of the violent mob. Both those guys asked the judge for a taxpayer-funded attorney, and both were refused, the court ruling they had enough money to pay for their own defense. But more often than not, defending the Capitol riot suspects is falling on the shoulders of taxpayers. The Administrative Office of the Courts telling us, on average, more than 90% of federal court defendants receive appointed counsel, but they say that may vary in this specific group of defendants.
Is there something poetic about the fact that the government they attacked is going to do everything it can to protect them in court?
Poetic. You couldn't write this story. It is, from a constitutional perspective, it's street poetry. It's amazing.